Mill wanted to name my kid, insulted me, and made a disturbance at my baby shower, so she lost it and ended up getting jailed. Mason and I have been married for 29 years, and I am now 29 weeks along with my pregnancy. Everything up to this point has been absolutely thrilling. Mason and I tied the knot 4 years ago after being together for quite some time. We were elated to learn of my pregnancy 6 months ago. We had been trying to conceive for a year. Along the way, we have experienced life's highs and lows. A fresh bundle of joy has entered our relationship with the announcement of an impending baby. We are getting more and more excited about meeting our little nugget every day. From the excitement of learning you're pregnant to the joy of feeling your little one kick your stomach, my pregnancy has been an emotional roller coaster. Mason has been there for me every step of the way. He's been there for all of our prenatal appointments, we've shared parenting books, and he's even helping to decorate the sweet nursery for our little one. Right now, we're completely occupied with thoughts of baby names, nursery design, and future plans. I feel so good about Mason since he is so thrilled to become a parent. He's fully committed to helping out with the baby preparations. Together, we are embracing the ups and downs of pregnancy and getting ready to greet our new little one. About 2 months ago, my husband and I decided to tell our family the wonderful news that I was pregnant. Before telling our loved ones the good news, we made sure we passed the first trimester milestone and were quite sure. Our parents, extended family, and friends were all invited to lunch. When they saw my expanding belly, their emotions changed from ordinary lunch expectations to pure delight and awe. Upon seeing me, my mother began to weep, confirming that I was, in fact, pregnant. She finally got it, and she was ecstatic about being a grandma soon. We were able to convey our reasons for keeping it a secret, and she was overjoyed to hear that she would soon be a grandma. Nonetheless, Dorothy, Mason's mother, had an entirely different reaction. We kept the pregnancy a secret from her, and instead of celebrating with us, she reacted violently. She thought I was excluding her on purpose, which made her feel even more excluded. She kept looking angry and wouldn't talk to me even after I tried to explain why we made that decision. What ought to have been a happy family gathering was overshadowed by her disdain. Dorothy completely ignored me all night long. She was rude to my mom and me, even though my mom had been nothing but nice to her in their past interactions. During conversations, Dorothy was glued to her phone, ignoring everyone else during the family reunion. You could feel her anger and dissatisfaction radiating from her. She was quite forthright about her lack of knowledge about my pregnancy, which caused her to feel like she had missed out on quality time with a grandchild who was still in the womb. A brother of my husband's caught up on her annoyance. I finally snapped under the mounting pressure and went outside for a breather. Upon noticing my sadness, my mother came to console me till I was able to return. After seeing the disapproving looks from my parents, sister, and husband, Dorothy made it a point to say goodbye to me last as the night drew to a close. She seldom spoke to me beyond saying hello and goodbye during the day. They got into a loud disagreement on the way to the car, which my husband escorted them to, and I overheard everything from the foyer. The setting was already tense, but Dorothy took advantage of the chance to lash out at me. It was only my parents, Mason, and his parents. Thankfully, all our guests had already departed by this point. She became very angry and told him that she couldn't believe I was so bold as to hide my pregnancy from her, adding that I clearly didn't value family. My husband gently informed her that we had both chosen to hold off on telling anyone until we were safely out of harm's way. As soon as Dorothy heard this, she began to shout. "Listen up, Dorothy. This is our grandson in question. This is how they said it. I should be informed right from the start. It has nothing to do with merit, Mom and Mason. We came to this conclusion as a team. She only wished to exercise caution. Is Dorothy being careful? I sit here now as her mother-in-law. She ought to have depended on me for this. I blame her for everything." At this point, my spouse became quite angry. I watched as his face flushed with rage as he heard his mother level more accusations against me. Up until this point, he had refrained. If his mother was going to accuse me, she should also accuse him, he informed his mother forcefully, as he didn't want to tell her either. She needs to quit being so dramatic and move on, he kept telling her. As his mother, Dorothy should have been the first to know if her son was expecting a grandchild, and she told him he should open his eyes since he was letting me manage everything. Dorothy rushed off, leaving my husband standing there, clearly unhappy and upset with his mother's reaction. He stayed firm and told her to stop assaulting me and that he loved her, but that she needed to go and calm down before saying something she would regret. Tears were falling from my eyes, and I didn't even notice. Her harsh remarks had wounded and confused me. Noticing my anxiety, Mason wasted no time rushing over to reassure me and gently led me back inside the home. My parents kindly waited until I was emotionally stable and comforted, since they could sense the strain. That wasn't all Dorothy did. I was already anxious about what was in her message when I got it later that night. The words "I am utterly disappointed in you" appeared in her message. "I will never forgive you for the fact that you intentionally withheld a crucial piece of information from me. I still can't believe you would deprive me of the delight of being informed about my grandchild from the start. This is very insulting and disrespectful. It has no place in a family. You should be sorry for your immature behavior, but instead you're driving a wedge between my kid and me. How disgraceful of you." Her comments sliced through me, and a whirlwind of hurt and wrath washed over me. Mason was really irate when I showed him the note. Mason decided to give his mother a call and tell her not to send me messages like this since they would make me feel even worse, because he couldn't understand why his mother would respond so harshly and blame me. He threatened to disconnect her if she persisted in this behavior. Dorothy appeared to be affected by Mason's harsh tone and comments. She altered her attitude when she realized she may be cut off. Instead of taking responsibility for her part in the argument, she suggested a solution. She wanted to throw us a baby shower so she could forgive us for what she saw as an insult. Because of this abrupt change, we were both taken aback and suspicious of her true intentions. She went on to say that planning a lavish party for me and her grandchild, in which she would be the center of attention, would be the thing that would make her happiest. Mason gave me an inquisitive glance, but I remained doubtful due to the abrupt shift in her speech. Rather than an earnest effort at reconciliation, Dorothy's abrupt shift in attitude appeared to be a calculated maneuver to reassert her authority and retake control. Mason considered taking her up on her offer despite my worries since he is so good at finding common ground and avoiding conflict. Concerned that accepting her offer could reinforce her notion that her behavior was appropriate, I voiced my worries to Mason. Although Mason could see things from my point of view, he expressed his wish that we might put our differences aside and work on building a stronger family bond. Before the baby came by inviting his friends to my baby shower, I reluctantly consented, and Mason told his mom to start making preparations for my baby shower. She thanked them for giving her the opportunity to lead, and she was ecstatic. Even though I had given her a lot of responsibility, I had thought we would work together in some way, that she would ask for my opinion and take my tastes into account when planning my baby shower. I was hoping that next week we would see more specific plans revealed, as the event is still a month away. But I was devastated to learn that my mother-in-law had betrayed me. Without informing anyone, not even me, she went ahead and bought all the decorations, picked out the games, and planned the activities for the baby shower. When my mom wanted to talk to her about it, my mother-in-law just told her that everything had already been decided and that it would be a surprise for me. I was disappointed and irritated since nobody seemed to care about my opinions or desires as the celebration that was supposed to commemorate a happy occasion was being planned in a way that didn't reflect them. There was a concoction of anticipation and nervousness in the air on the day of my baby shower. My closest friends, who were all excited to celebrate the impending arrival of our little one, greeted me as I arrived at the location, a nearby banquet hall. Upon entering, I couldn't help but be captivated by my mother-in-law's outrageously decorated home. Every area was decked with a sea of brown and beige balloons, portraying a theme that she created herself. It seemed like an unsuccessful effort at a safari motif, and I despised the decor for it. The event lacked the lively vibe I had imagined due to the preponderance of brown and gray. I was expecting a baby shower with pastels and delicate touches, but my mother-in-law had clearly planned for the polar opposite. The atmosphere was already tense when I noticed a striking display. Near the entrance, a massive banner with a detailed collage of my husband's pictures from when he was a baby with Dorothy. At my baby shower, everyone was staring at it in bewilderment, wondering why she had decided to present images of my husband when he was a baby. I asked her a few pointed questions, and she shrugged, explaining that she was thrilled to show off my husband's childhood cuteness and that she anticipated our kid to look just like him. I couldn't help but gaze at her, trying to figure out whether she was truly insane. She made it quite apparent that she wanted the day to be more about her motherhood experiences than the new baby we were expecting. Looking around the room, the visitors' emotions varied from mild discomfort to perplexion as the number of attendees increased. I had hoped for a sophisticated and festive setting for my baby shower, but what I got was a sea of brown and beige balloons and a tall banner featuring my mother-in-law and my husband. Some of my pals looked at me with expressions of regret that said it all. My mother's jaw dropped as she entered the room and beheld the scene of pure terror that my mother-in-law had wrought. She then fixed her gaze on the banner, and I could feel her surprise as she attempted to display a collage that, rather than commemorating the birth of my kid, appeared to be more of a display of my husband's youth. Moving fearlessly from a state of skepticism to one of resolve, my mother approached the flag. Shuddering not a word, she seized the flag and yanked it down from its proud pedestal. As my mother removed the obtrusive display that had marred the party, the entire room became silent. A flood of appreciation for my mother's constant encouragement washed over me. As my mom threw the banner into the trash, my Mill, who was engrossed in chatting with other guests, watched in horror. She said, "What do you think you're doing?" with an air of disapproval. To commemorate the new addition to the family, that banner was the perfect finishing touch. "Nothing about this party is about you or your accomplishments. It's about my daughter and her baby," my unfazed mother said calmly and firmly in response to the criticism. Everyone in the vicinity was captivated by this sudden showdown. Upon seeing the change in focus, my mom made an effort to reclaim command. "I figured it would be good if everyone knew who put on this lovely event." She tried to hide her irritation as she answered, "I wanted everyone to see how adorable Mason was as a child since I was responsible for throwing this lovely event." Her tone betrayed her true feelings. "Dorothy, you pleaded with my daughter to let you host this baby shower for her despite your behavior with her the last time," my mother continued, unfazed. "You are not welcome to use this occasion to push your agenda or take center stage. It is my daughter's baby shower." As the conversation progressed, everyone in the room looked nervously at each other. My Mill crept back with an artificial grin and resumed talking to other guests as she realized her attempt to control the story had flopped. Even though there was a lot of tension during the baby shower, I did my best to ignore it and soak up all the good vibes from my loved ones. It seems like my mom was having a bit too much to drink for a baby shower, but I couldn't tell her anything else, so I guess there were no surprises after all. The visitors started to relax and have fun as we played a variety of party games. I was pleasantly impressed by the nice gifts that everyone had brought for my kid at the present opening event. But when my mother-in-law, grinning wildly, presented me with an obnoxiously huge gift package, my excitement quickly turned to confusion. As the room went silent, a rush of humiliation and annoyance washed over me. She gave my mother a furious look, uncertain of how to respond to this sudden shift in the situation. The visitors exchanged uncomfortable looks. In an effort to diffuse the situation without adding to it, I forced a feeble grin and thanked her for the considerate present, fighting off the want to scowl. As the cake-cutting ceremony approached, the scene became even more tense. My mother-in-law had placed an order for a lavish, multi-tiered cake adorned with excessive details. She clinked her glass dramatically to draw attention to herself. As I continued to wonder what she was doing, my irritation level rose. We all stared at her expectantly, waiting for her to say anything. After that, Dorothy shared the wonderful news that she had named our daughter after a flower. Upon hearing what she had to say, I was completely unconscious. The fact that we hadn't even decided on a name yet speaks volumes. With an air of Victorian-era haughtiness, she boldly announced that her great-grandmother will be the baby's name. Her assumption that she had the right to name the baby astonished and offended me. My husband and I wanted to choose the name for our kid jointly, so I gently intervened and explained why. As parents, we wanted to make that choice. But that didn't sit well with my mother-in-law. After spending so much on the baby shower, she was certain that I should accept her perfectly chosen name because I was a nice daughter-in-law. The arrogance she displayed stunned me. I made it clear that no matter who held the baby shower, my husband and I would be the only ones to decide on a name for our child. At that point, Mill began publicly scolding me, saying I was being very rude and that I should be thankful for everything she had done. Instead of thanking her for letting her name the kid, she proceeded to attack my upbringing and say that I should be doing the opposite. The more Dorothy pointed her fingers at my face, the more hostile she became. As a protective barrier, my mom stepped in and stood before me. After giving birth to my husband, whose sperm fertilized me. Dorothy persisted in yelling that she was the biological mother of my child. Her claims were extremely repulsive. Dorothy continued to make hurtful remarks, and my mom's attempts to calm her down just made things worse. It was obvious she was drunk, and attempting to reason with her was futile because she continued attacking me and saying my mom did a horrible job raising me. It was becoming more awkward for everyone involved. As I began to grasp the gravity of the situation, I finally determined that the shame had been too much. In an effort to preserve my honor, I chose to leave behind the gift my mother-in-law had given me and instead take the presents that my friends had so kindly delivered. Nevertheless, Dorothy, who was visibly drunk, reclaimed the presents from my grasp and flung them to the floor, blaming me for being ungrateful and a witch for interfering with her relationship with her son. I saw that some people started filming the situation as the tense atmosphere garnered greater attention. To try to keep things under control, I had a close friend of mine gently ask guests to leave the party. Nothing could have prepared anyone for the scenario that ensued when Dorothy, unfazed, persisted in leveling vicious allegations against me, ruining what was intended to be a happy event. My frustration escalated into fury, and I finally decided to call the police to have her removed from my area since her violent conduct was making me feel very dangerous. Yeah, you heard it correctly. Because my mill was so toxic, the cops had to be involved during my baby shower. After the cops arrived, Dorothy went into full-on drama mode, accusing me of being the one responsible for the entire shambles. Thanks be to God, the police were sympathetic and tried to talk her down. Unfortunately, Mill's inebriation made her fight their attempts and even escalate to ranting at the cops. Her immediate arrest was a result of the situation's escalation. Along with my mother and a few close friends, I departed from the gathering, all of us very affected by the disturbing events. My spouse and I have been coping with the aftermath of this occurrence. Mill is completely consumed with guilt as she tries to appeal to the sympathies of distant relatives who were unable to attend the baby shower due to distance. I think I went a little bit too far, according to my spouse, even though he gets why I contact the police. He thinks I should have contacted him or his dad for assistance. So, Reddit, Ida, you're going to call the police on my Mill for crashing my baby shower and acting like she's the real mother. Firstly, the reception I have had since choosing to publish about my baby shower has been absolutely incredible. Your support in my choice to contact the police is much appreciated. Considering that I seldom spent more than a few hours with my Mill outside of the holidays, I had never experienced such an intense reaction from her before. I was deeply worried about the prospect of bodily injury due to her aggressive behavior during the baby shower, particularly in light of the potential consequences for my pregnant kid. Everyone who was there for the baby shower has been in touch to offer their condolences since the catastrophe. I plan to show my husband the recordings that some of them have provided of the whole disaster. Over the next weekend, I intend to have a deep discussion with my husband on our future plans with his mother. Secondly, I show my husband the recording. Like I said before, my husband and I sat down to have a serious talk about what had happened. I went into great detail with him about how his mother's conduct had gotten worse as the whole thing had progressed, from the shocking announcement of her pregnancy to the wild baby shower. I went into great detail in describing the allegations, screaming, and strange graphics that she showed. My spouse was noticeably frightened when he viewed the tapes that I shared with him. Seemingly serving as a wake-up call, he was forced to face the unsettling reality of his mother's behavior after watching the films. He finally began to admit that I was correct to contact the police and express his deepest apologies for downplaying the gravity of the issue. It became this bad? I didn't know. He extended his deepest condolences, his expression betraying a mix of remorse and exasperation as he spoke. Because this was so unlike his mother, he said he had never thought she could be that poisonous. He told me that he had my back and stressed how important it was for me to remain safe, particularly during my pregnancy. We dove more into the problems at hand, talking about how his mother's desire for approval and control had ruined an otherwise wonderful time. After coming to terms with his mother's conduct, Mason voiced his worries and admitted that she had crossed a limit. After his mother's public display of contempt for me, I informed him that I wished to sever all relations with her. I persisted in assuring him that he was free to pursue a relationship with her if he so desired, but that our kid and I would not be involved in her life until his mother sought help for her violent outbursts. In response to this, Mason said that he, too, was prepared to sever relations with his mother because of how abhorrent her actions were. Although I told him he wasn't obligated to, my husband maintained that his mother had no place in our life after she insulted me. He realized his mother's actions may have been the result of pent-up tensions rather than related to the baby shower. It is now Mason's decision to cut his mother off from our life, and he has informed me that he will tell his mother about it himself. Also, I told him to let her know that I would have to call the police on her again if she shows up to our house in an ostentatious attempt to get me to accept her return. Third update. I haven't updated in a month. Just wanted to let everyone know that the baby and I are doing okay. As the day draws near, I am filled with anticipation to meet my kid. We have severed all contact with Dorothy since my previous report. Mason spoke with his parents, and his dad gave him his word that he'd make sure my mill knew what we were getting at and respected our choice. Our lives have changed significantly since we severed relations with Dorothy. Now that there isn't any poisonous drama going on all the time, our home is much calmer and more peaceful. Thanks to Dorothy's absence, Mason and I can finally put our attention where it belongs, on getting ready for the birth of our kid. Throughout this difficult period, the support we have received from loved ones has been priceless. Supportive and sympathetic, my parents and close friends have been rock solid. Witnessing the horrifying events at the baby shower through the tapes that have now gone viral, even some family members who were previously uninformed of Dorothy's actions have now spoken out to voice their support. We still have a long way to go, but this ordeal has brought us closer as a team and shown us how critical it is to overcome obstacles as one. Cutting connections with Dorothy was not an easy decision, but it was crucial for our health. There may be some problems that remain, but we are hopeful for the future because of the improvements this decision has made. We are committed to creating a nurturing home that puts the needs of the parents and the kid first as we excitedly anticipate the birth of our new little one.